When Skylab 3 returned to Earth, there was only one command module left, and that was readied for the Apollo-Soyuz test project. There was no way to get to Skylab. However, there were plans to reactivate Skylab. The reactivation would likely have occurred in 4 phases. The first, an early space station shuttle flight would probably have boosted Skylab to a higher orbit, adding 5 years of operational life. The shuttle may have pushed or towed the station, but attaching a booster, the Teleoperator Retrieval System, or TRS, would have been more likely, based on the astronauts' training for the task. Martin Marietta won a contract for $26 million to design the apparatus. The TRS would contain about 3 tons of propellant, and the remote-controlled booster had TV cameras and was designed for duties such as space construction and servicing, and retrieving satellites the shuttle could not reach. After rescuing Skylab, the TRS would have remained in orbit for future use. Alternatively, it could have been used to deorbit Skylab for safe, controlled re-entry and destruction. Other options were considering for launching the TRS, including a Titan III or Atlas Agena. The second phase would be 2 shuttle flights. In January 1982, the first mission would have attached a docking adapter and conducted repairs, and in August 1983, a second crew would have replaced several system components. Skylab would have been completely then refurbished. The third phase in this plan would happen in March 1984. Shuttle crews would have attached solar-powered expansion package, refurbished scientific equipment, and conduct 30 to 90-day missions using the Apollo telescope mount and Earth resource experiments. The fourth phase would occur over 5 years, and Skylab would be expanded to accommodate 6 to 8 astronauts, with a new large docking interface module, additional logistics modules, space lab modules, and an orbital vehicle space dock using the shuttle's external tank. However, none of this would happen.
British Airways say they may delay their flights as America's Skylab space station falls to Earth in the next 36 hours.
After the last crew left, Skylab remained in orbit for 5 years, but its demise in 1979 was an international media event, with t-shirts and hats and bullseyes with Skylab repellent, and with a money-back guarantee wagering on the time and place of the entry, and nightly news reports on the subject. Indeed, the San Francisco Examiner offered a $10,000 prize for the first piece of Skylab delivered to its office, and the competing San Francisco Chronicle offered $200,000 if its subscribers suffered personal or property damage. A Nebraska neighborhood painted a target so that its station would have something to aim for, a resident said. A report commissioned by NASA calculated that the odds were 1 in 152 of debris hitting any human, and the odds were 1 in 7 of debris hitting a city of more than 100,000 people or more. Still, special teams were ready to head to any country hit by debris. A week before re-entry, NASA forecast that it would occur between July 10th and 14th, with the 12th the most likely date. In the hours before the event, ground controllers adjusted Skylab's orientation to minimize the risk of re-entry in a populated area. They aimed the station at a spot 810 miles south of Cape Town, South Africa, and re-entry began at approximately 1637 Universal Coordinated Time on July 11, 1979. Unbeknownst and somewhat shockingly to NASA and the U.S. Air Force, the Soviet Union was monitoring the deorbit of Skylab very closely.
Координаты входа неизвестны. Спутник Тень-3. 6-й пролет станции Skylab. Вход в атмосферу неизбежен. Координаты удара в южном полушарии. Спутник Тень-3. 7-й проход американской станции Skylab.
The Air Force still provided data from a secret tracking station that showed that Skylab did not burn up as fast as NASA expected. Debris landed about 300 miles east of Perth, Western Australia, due to a 4% calculation error. The residents and an airline pilot saw dozens of colorful flares as large pieces broke up in the atmosphere. Although the debris landed in the most unpopulated land on Earth, still, the Shire of Esperance fined NASA $400 for littering. The fine wasn't paid until April 2009, when radio show host Scott Barley of Highway Radio raised the funds from his morning show listeners on behalf of NASA. In an interesting anecdote, Stan Thornton found 24 pieces of Skylab at his home in Esperance, and a Philadelphia businessman flew him, his parents, and his girlfriend to San Francisco, where he collected the Examiner Prize.
Bangs, which we thought instantly was an earthquake. And it shook the entire house.
After the demise of Skylab, NASA focused on the reusable Space Lab module, an orbital workshop that could be deployed with the Space Shuttle and returned back to Earth inside its payload bay. The shuttle would eventually dock with the Mir station in the 1990s instead of Skylab. The next American major space station project was Space Station Freedom, which was merged with the International Space Station in 1993, with launches starting in 1998.